Hey everybody, just another random thought from me on my lunch break today. As usual, I was watching yet another podcast from another economist, and they threw up a couple of graphs that really stuck with me, and I'll drop them in here in a second. But I know people have a lot of feelings about taxes and taxation, and it's kind of hard to defend taxes when the money we make goes out a lot faster than it comes in, and you see every payday how much is taken out. But even the tax and spend folks, it hurts because that money goes out faster than it comes in, and then you've got the other end of the spectrum, which is the taxation is theft crowd. Sorry, gang. It's in the original Constitution. It is not theft. It's how we make the country work. We can haggle all day long about how much should be taxed and where it should be spent. And that's kind of one of the areas I want to hit here is how much should we be taxed. So I'm going to start throwing these graphs up, and you look. Back when America was objectively at its greatest, post World War II, when we had the highest expansion in life expectancy, upward economic mobility, infant mortality was falling, new business creation, educational attainment across the board. We were setting records the world had never seen before. And you look at the rates of taxation. Most people who work for a living were somewhere under 25% total taxation. And you had the wealthiest people, the people who had the most money and could most easily afford to be taxed, in some places, in some cases, taxed at 70 or 90%. And that was over a certain dollar amount. So that wasn't their total income being taken at 90%. It was only income over a certain amount. Now let's look at where we're at today. And now all of a sudden you see that everybody who actually works for a living is being taxed at a higher rate. We're much closer to 30% taxation. And the poor, if you look at that graph, are even carrying a larger burden than a lot of other people. Meanwhile, look at that top 99%. It's fallen off the cliff. And what do you think they're doing with that money? That's how they managed to buy up all of our media outlets and all of our news stations and buy our politicians and fund all those lobbyists that actually write the legislation that have been running our country since going back to the 80s, when they said, hey, if we give those guys a tax break, they'll create all these jobs. Well, the jobs they created got shipped overseas, and the only thing left, we have a larger and larger percentage of our economy that's all retail jobs, and you can't make a living on retail jobs in this country. So just something to think about when we talk about taxation and taxing the wealth. The numbers don't lie.